Now to a man who's made it his job forecasting crises. Let's see if he can forecast his way out of one. Economic analyst Max Otte, thank you very much for joining us. What do you think lies ahead, first of all, for Spain?
I think the pain is going to continue for 2 or 3 years because too many actors have an interest in this European crisis. Too many actors earn money on it, and nobody has really the power to solve it at this point. So it will drag on. That's my only prediction I can make for 2 or 3 years.
You've said this isn't the end of the world, but certainly it is for many Spaniards who've lost their homes, lost their jobs. What's the situation like for them?
It's pretty terrible. And when we heard somebody was saying the fear is going round, I mean, with 50% youth unemployment, 20% unemployment, this is terrible, this is horrible. And if you have markets overreacting, I mean, Spain is not in good shape, but the interest premium is too high. And then at the same time, you have very restrictive fiscal policy. Of course, you're pushing the country deeper into crisis, and that's what's happening right now.
You mentioned before there are people profiting. We've gone through all of the people who are losing out in this crisis. Who are the ones profiting?
Well, for example, stock investors, if they have the stamina and power to wait for a couple of years, if they buy Spanish shares on the cheap, I mean, they'll make a killing. They just have to take the time. I mean, it's a solid economy after all.
In Spain, mortgage loans are twice as expensive. In Finland, for example, even borrowing for the government is right up there, as you mentioned before. If we check out the interest Madrid has to pay on 10-year bonds, there hasn't been any respite in years. 7% is a lot to pay when you're talking loans worth billions of euros. The cost for the German government is very different. How can you explain that? Is it a level playing field?
Not at all, and financial markets are highly irrational. That's my basic premise, and that's what behavioral finance would also tell. And Germany is not that good that we only have to pay 1.5%. I mean, there's problems too, and Spain is not that bad. So the spread right now is reflecting panic. So Spain is effectively overpaying.
OK, we'll get to some of the problems facing Germany in a second. What about the latest talk from the European Central Bank sinking its teeth into this crisis and the measures people are talking about?
I think it's the last recourse we have. I mean, it's not really in line with the German constitution, but the ECB can do that, and I think it will, if push comes to shove, to avoid the worst.
Do what? Quantitative easing?
Quantitative easing, buy more bonds and so on. I think that path will be taken.
What about a limitless Euro rescue fund?
I think that's a bad idea because it really would stop structural adjustment. I mean, if we break the rules every once in a while, that may be unavoidable, but the limitless rescue fund would really distort incentives.
OK, we'll get